Welcome to the Irresistible You podcast. This is the place to get a dose of empowerment to create the life you crave and deserve. I'm your host, Amy Beltran, CEO and founder of Irresistible University and the Irresistible You framework, which I teach in my signature course. I'm a confidence coach that empowers women to love themselves by breaking down body image issues so they can lose the emotional weight and gain confidence to look and feel irresistible at any size. Welcome to this week's episode, you guys. This week we are talking about how and why you need to stop attaching your self-worth to the number on the scale. So, have you done this? Are you doing this? And what I mean by it is, are you getting on the scale and allowing the number that you see to dictate how you feel about yourself, how you value yourself as a person? And I'm going to dig all into this in just a minute, but that's what we're talking about today. And many of you in my community have told me that you're on a weight loss journey, you've lost weight, or you want to lose weight and get on a weight loss journey. I know a lot of people here have also had different weight loss surgeries and things like that. But whether you're on an active weight loss journey or not, that's actually beside the point. So whether you're on an active weight loss journey or not, this episode is for you. It's for anyone that is struggling with body image issues and self-worth. Because losing weight, getting to your goal, it doesn't eliminate this issue of self-worth unless you proactively addressed it and worked on resolving it. And that's why I'm telling you guys all the time about this emotional weight that we have to lose, right? Because if we don't work on this part, all the weight loss surgeries, all the tummy tucks, all the, losing tons and tons of weight and getting to your goal, none of that's going to matter as it relates to your self-worth if you don't address this. And that's what I'm so passionate about helping you all with. And that's why everything I do is really based around having the ability to see that you have this emotional weight that's holding you back, right? And so many of us, and I used to be just like this, but so many of us, it's like putting all your eggs in one basket, right? We put all of our self-worth eggs into this one basket, and that basket being the scale. So that if the scale doesn't reflect what we want it to reflect, all the eggs come crashing out of the basket and they break and we feel broken, right? So let me tell you a little story. So I can vividly remember this day where I had this aha moment, right? And I had this aha moment. I was standing in my kitchen looking at a picture, and in that moment I realized, and it kind of just like hit me on the back of the head. I realized that I had been basing all of my happiness in my lifetime according to how much I weighed, how much weight I was losing, and what size I was in terms of my clothes. And I could, and I still can, I can look at any picture from my lifetime. And I mean from a child to, in my 30s now, I can look at any picture in my lifetime and I can tell you exactly how much I weighed, what diet I was on, where I was in the process of that diet, and what size I was wearing, and how I was feeling about my body in that moment. And you all, oh my God, that's when it hit me that I had clumped together all of these different memories, and I had then classified and organized them as either good memories or bad memories based on how quote-unquote good I was doing with the scale going down. And that's also when I realized this shit's gotta stop, Amy. This is not normal. This is not good behavior. This is not gonna keep you in a healthy mental state to be able to accomplish all the things that you want to accomplish in life. Because we cannot base our entire worth and happiness and who we are as a person on what we look like, on what we weigh. But we do it. And so often, if you're anything like I was, you weren't awoken or awake yet to the fact that you're even doing this, right? And I mean, here I was in my 30s realizing for the first time that I'd been doing this my whole life. So let's just talk about when you are on an active weight loss journey. Like you know you have a good chunk of weight to lose. You're losing weight for health purposes, not just because you have this vanity. We're not talking about, I always tell you guys, we're not talking about vanity 5 pounds, the vanity 10-pound girl. We're talking about you actually have weight to lose because something is at stake for you with your health or physically or whatnot, right? Or you just want to feel better in your own skin. So for me, I am on an active weight loss journey right now, and I weigh in every single week. And I weigh in every single week because it keeps me accountable, and I use the results from the scale as a tool, and it's information. And it's only one tool that I have in my toolbox that kind of gauges where am I at this week with my weight loss? But I no longer use that scale as the end-all be-all tool that's judging not only my weight loss, but judging myself, right? Because like I told you, I wasn't always this way. I've done the work. I've put the time in to get to this place where I don't put all of my self-worth into the weight, into the scale, right? So here's the deal. Here's the reality. When you're losing weight and you're doing a weekly weigh-in or whatever you're doing, when you're losing weight, you're going to have weeks where, girl, like you kill it with your weight loss. You know the weeks where you're just like, yes, like you busted your ass, you were eating on plan, you were going to the gym, you were drinking all your water, you were taking care of yourself, and the scale shows it and it makes you feel so good about yourself. And you're like doing a little dance on the scale and you're happy and you're excited and you're like, yes, I got this, I can do it again, right? Next week comes, you get on that scale, you've busted your ass, you've been lifting weights, you've been running, you've been doing things you've never done before physically, and you're eating healthy, and you're doing all the things, and guess what? The scale is exactly the same as last week. So what happens to your mood? Your mood, you're not doing the happy dance, the naked happy dance on the scale. You're upset, you're angry, you're calling yourself a failure, and then you're going and thinking about everything you did wrong last week. Instead of looking at all the things you started doing right, all the non-scale victories, you're now looking at every single thing you did wrong and criticizing yourself, right? Okay, so then we have the third scenario, and I think you know where I'm going with this one. On the third scenario, here goes the week where you get on the scale and, oh my God, the scale is up. What happened? I did everything right. How could this happen? How could the scale go up? Right? So you have those moments, but you also have the moments, well, I was on vacation and you kind of knew it was going to go up, but now that the scale is up, that same feeling washes over you of feeling like a failure, feeling like a loser, feeling like you're never going to get this weight thing down, like you're never going to be who you want to be because you can't get the scale to go down, right? So the problem is that we only want to celebrate the times that the scale goes down. And the times that the scale doesn't go down and it goes up or it stays the same, we fall back into the pity party, the victim mindset, and ultimately this is setting us up for self-sabotage. So how many times have you had an amazing week on the scale, you're doing the naked dance, next week comes, the scale is up, and you're like, all right, I'll just get back to it, I got this, I know what to do to get it back down. And then a couple of days go by, and you slowly start injecting all of those self-sabotaging behaviors, not weighing, not measuring, not tracking, having a little bit of this, we call them BLTs, bite, licks, and taste. You're having BLTs all the time, right? And next thing you know, you've kind of fallen off the wagon, so to speak. Right? So, first things first, I want you to hear this. First things first, you need to recognize and accept that the ups and downs, this is part of the journey. It has no reflection upon you as a good or bad person. It's just results. It's just data on a scale. And there's a whole slew of other things that could be causing the loss or the gain or the maintain, right? But you have to just first understand that having an up week, a down week, sometimes not really dependent upon, the work that you put in doesn't always yield the results that you wanted. And you have to realize that this is just part of the journey. Especially as women, we retain water, that time of the month. Like, there's so many other things that go into that number on the scale besides just what you did that week with your eating and your exercise. So I want you to just get to a place, number one, where you can accept that this journey is a journey, and it's called that for a reason, right? There's ups and downs, and there's detours, and there's stops, and there's amazing things that happen too, okay? And now that you recognize and you accept that the ups and downs are part of the journey, the second thing you've got to do is you really got to find other ways for you to feel successful and worthy that aren't dependent upon the results of the scale, right? Because if you keep relying on that scale, that's where it's going to keep setting you up to fail, because you're going to fail up here in your mind. Right? Because 95% of this journey is mental. It's mind. Right? So you've got to secondly realize and discover, how else can I feel successful on a daily, weekly, monthly basis? How else can I feel worthy that's not directly tied to the results of the scale of this weight loss journey? Okay. And even if you're not on that weight loss journey, like we said at the very beginning, and you're in maintenance mode, for example, and you're weighing in once a month, this still applies to you, right? This still applies to you. So you don't have to be on an active journey, because like we've said, that feeling of not enough, not worthy, not good enough, that doesn't go away just because, I got to 150, got to my goal. So yep, I'm done. I'm worthy. I'm amazing. I'm confident. Wipe my hands. I'm done. It doesn't work that way, right? It doesn't work that way. It's a journey for life. We don't do all of the work that got us to our goal weight as far as the actual weight loss stuff, and then we just say, all right, I can go back to the binging, I can go back to eating garbage, I can go back to just doing all the old fat girl stuff that I used to do. Because if you do that, you're just self-sabotaging for the weight to come back on, right? So you have to see this as a journey, that there really is no final destination. You just get to a cool destination that you've always wanted to see, and you go explore it, and you go check it out, and then you go to the next destination, right? So, all right, another little story here. So years ago, this is one story of many that I could probably share that's exactly the same, but this one I just can clearly see the day. I remember this. I was getting dressed. We were getting ready to go out. It was a weekend during the day. I was getting dressed, and you know what? Like, I was feeling myself. Like, the moments where, like, you're like, yes, girl, like, I look good today. Like, you were just, like, feeling everything. My makeup was looking bomb. My hair was fierce. And I was so feeling the outfit that I had on. And I was like, yeah, you look good. I can see the weight's coming off, but you just look really good today. And I then went downstairs, and for whatever reason, I decided to get on the scale. Because in my mind, I thought, if I feel and look this good, well, the scale has to be down. Because if it was up, I wouldn't feel and look this good. That was the mentality going on in my brain. So I get on the scale, and guess what? The scale was up. In that moment, I felt that warm wave of, like, it's like this warm wave that you just, like, feel come over your body, and you can feel the shame and the guilt and the anger. It was just washing over my body, and I could feel my cheeks getting hot. I was so pissed. I was so angry at myself, and I was so disappointed. And that moment, going from feeling like I was on top of the world to then again feeling like this little fat girl that has no self-worth, that no one cares about in this world, that everyone makes fun of, that all those old feelings came back, and it ruined my entire day. And not only did it ruin my day, but I'm pretty sure it ruined my husband's day, because then my attitude and my whole like demeanor that day was bad, right? So that's the whole problem with this stuff, is it infiltrates our entire life. It's not just a vanity thing. It's not just about how we look, right? Because I've attached all of my worth into the scale, which before I got on that scale 1 minute before, nothing could stop me. You couldn't tell me nothing, right? And now the scale has dictated you're not allowed to feel hot. Who do you think you are for thinking that you look good today when you're nothing but the fat girl that you've always been? That's the mentality. Those are the thoughts going on in our heads, right? So I have a million more memories just like that one. And so do my clients. And I know you probably do too. And this is why that it is so critical that you pay attention to everything I'm about to tell you. Because if you don't, and if you don't start implementing some of these things, I promise you one thing. You're going to waste more years, and I say more because I know you've already wasted. You're going to waste more years of your life sitting on the sidelines, all because the scale has made you its bitch. That's right. I said it. The scale has made you its bitch. Because that scale tells you how to feel, when to go out, how to go out, what to wear, how to wear it. That scale is running your life. Right? This object that sits on the dirty bathroom floor is the thing that's ruining and running your life. Think about it. Okay? So it's important and it's critical that we have other areas of our life in this journey that you can measure, that you can look at, so that you're not dumping all of your hopes and dreams into that scale at your weigh-in. And when you have these other goals and other things that you're focusing on, you know what? It makes you feel more accomplished. It makes you feel in control. And it takes the obsession away from the weight loss. And slowly but surely, you can do your, I'm a clasp my pearls and gasp again. Because finally, it makes all of this part of your new lifestyle, not just a diet, right? And I want to share with you right now, I'm going to share with you some of the things that I do on a daily basis, and some of the things that I also teach inside of my signature course called Irresistible You, that's going to help you to stop attaching your self-worth to the scale. So first and foremost, I just want to share this, and I hope it's helpful, because I can share my personal experience with you, and I just want to share this and see if it'll help you kind of see where I'm going with this. But when I am fully in the zone, and when I say fully in the zone, this means I am following all of the steps and all of the things that I have put into the Irresistible You framework. And when I'm doing all of these things, I feel so amazing. I feel unstoppable. I feel on top of the world. I feel like nothing's going to hold me down, even if it's a bad week on the scale, right? So I just want to quickly share with you a day in the life of what that looks like for me on this is going to be I hate to use the word perfect, but if I'm in the flow, in the zone, having a quote-unquote perfect day, okay? Day in the life of Amy. So I just wanted to show you what this looks like, and then I'm going to talk about the actual things that you can start doing. So my day, when I am fully in the zone, the Irresistible You zone, I wake up early. And what I mean by early is I will wake up 3 to 4 hours earlier than my daughter, right? So I am talking about days where we're just talking about the days my husband is actually at work, because he does have a pretty cool schedule to where he's home a good chunk of the weekdays, which those days look a little bit different for me. So I just want to talk to you about the days where I have a lot going on in terms of running my business and watching my daughter all at the same time. It's a lot. So when I'm in that zone, I wake up about 3 to 4 hours earlier than my daughter does. And when I wake up early, I like to get dressed. I like to put on my face, put on my makeup, put my clothes on for the day so that I look in the mirror and I feel proud and I feel good about the way I look. Because if you, and I work from home, for those of you that don't know, so my schedule's a little bit unconventional, if you will. But if I were to wake up and I roll out of bed with the pajamas on, looking like a hot ass mess, it's going to reflect in my quality of work, right? So I like to get dressed, do all the things I do in the morning to make that happen, put on my makeup, put on my earrings, put on my jewelry, put on my perfume, put on all the things that make me feel really good on the outside. And it makes me feel good on the inside by doing those things. So I do that, and I come into my office, I turn my salt lamp on, I'm a little woo-woo like that, I have my little crystals, and I do my my morning journaling, which is kind of like a version of meditating, if you will. I do my morning journaling, I do my gratitude, I look at my to-do list, I make sure everything is on there for the day that I want to accomplish, and I'm realistic about that. And then I go downstairs and get my breakfast, get my caffeine, and I come back upstairs to my office. And I love this time of day because it's quiet, it's just me, and this is where I really get a lot of my energy to be who I am, because I cannot do that if first thing in the morning I'm waking up when my daughter wakes up and I'm waking up into the chaos. And how many of you are doing that have kids and have to go to a job out of the house, and you have to drop kids off at school and daycare and all of the things? And if you're doing that and you're doing it to where it's like this chaotic morning and everybody's running around and forget it. That's already starting your day in a bad place, and you're setting yourself up to binge. So I come in my office, I check emails while I'm eating my breakfast, and this is when I do my writing. I write emails, I write blog posts, I do a lot of creative, I call it creative head down work that is time that I need without distractions. So that's when I do a lot of my creativity work, like coursework, designing things for the program, things like that. When I am in this zone, it makes me feel in control. It makes me feel like I have my power back, and it sets me up to actually want to eat healthy and not give in to binging throughout the day, right? So that's what I do. Then around 9 a.m., I have crossed off half of my to-do list, which that is an amazing feeling, right? I go get my daughter around 9 a.m., get her dressed, we make breakfast, and while she's eating and doing her thing with that, I have my little laptop that I use downstairs, and I check emails, I check my social media, I reply to comments, I reply to emails. I do a lot of low energy stuff that doesn't take a lot of brain power, right? So I do that while I have her, so that I'm not I can't do creative work if I'm going to have my daughter in the room with me, right? So she's eating, Chewy, my Chihuahua's eating his breakfast, and once the two of them are done eating, we'll clean up the kitchen, we put everything away, and then we'll head out to the park or the boardwalk, and we get in a nice mid-morning walk. So this, for me, is addressing my need for moving, for activity, for getting in steps, and spending time outdoors, especially with my dog and my daughter. That's what feeds my soul. And feed your soul is one of the 5 steps of the Irresistible You framework. That's how critical that is to your success. So you have to find these pockets of time in the day to feed your soul. And for you, if you work a 9-to-5, traditional 9-to-5, or you're a teacher or something like that, you're not going to have a mid-morning walk like that. So you figure out what works best for you and your schedule, right? So then we'll head back home. I make lunch, get her all cleaned up from that, and then we go upstairs and she goes down for her nap. Now, my daughter has always been an amazing sleeper, an amazing napper. She's like a dream. And this kid, she is 2.5 right now, and she will still nap for about 3 to 4 hours in the afternoon. So hello, that is amazing. So this time I get her back down, and once she's to sleep, because I like to eat my lunch while I'm working. It's just a thing that I like to do so I can enjoy it more. So once she's down, this is when I go downstairs and I make what I call my fresh summer salad. It's spinach and strawberries and blue cheese and pecans, and I have these healthy chicken strips that go in it, and balsamic vinaigrette, and it is just the best salad ever. And I'm mentioning this part because eating healthy and eating clean is another accomplishment that I can check off the day that makes me feel really good, right? That makes me feel like, wow, like I'm having an amazing day, because not only that, eating the fresh, clean food, you don't get the brain fog when you're constantly eating the fast food and the fried stuff and the processed stuff. I'm telling you, you got to try it. So we go back upstairs with Chewy, of course. He's always with me. And I get back to business, y'all. Like, this is when I come in the office and it's like straight up business. It's time to record podcasts. We edit blog posts. I record videos for the course or for my Facebook ads or things I'm going to upload to the page. This is when I do Facebook Lives. I'm creating content, I'm taking client clarity calls, and this is the time where I will schedule any meetings or interviews that I have, because I know my daughter will be asleep, right? So I'm doing all of this. Chewy is either next to me laying in his bed, or he's sitting in my lap here in my office chair. He's always right next to me. You can guarantee that. So doing my work and the work that I do is so fulfilling for me that it's another thing on my list of accomplishments that makes me feel really good about my day. And when I have that time to myself to really dig in and do the work that makes me feel fulfilled and work that I know is actually making a difference for other people, it just feels so good. So around 4 o'clock ish. When you have kids, you always say ish because it's never exactly that time. But around 4 p.m. ish is when Kat starts to wake up. And now when I go in the room to get her, I'm in such a good mood where I cannot wait to spend time with her, to laugh with her and play and interact, because I'm not feeling like I'm being pulled in 100 directions because I woke up at the same time she woke up today, and now everything has just gone to chaos throughout the entire day. Now I've had time to do the things that matter to me, so now I can spend quality time with her and with Chewy without being on my phone, without being somewhere else mentally, and this is all about being present and being mindful, which is another principle of the Irresistible You framework. So around this time, we'll get up, we go downstairs, go play in the yard, or run around downstairs. And around this time, like I said, I'm being very present, playing with her and Chewy. We play fetch, we go in the yard. And this is when I'll also start prepping something for dinner if we're going to be eating at home that night. And then around this time, between 5 and 6-ish, is when my husband usually comes home from work, if it's a work day. Now, when he comes home, he is amazing. He will either jump right in and start helping me with the cooking, or he completely takes over with Kat so that I can focus, and then we all have dinner together. And yes, he does the dishes because he's awesome. So you guys, it's teamwork. It's all about teamwork. And that should be I could do an episode on that another day about relationships and teamwork and all that kind of stuff, because it's a self-worth thing. You got to ask for what you need, right? Anyway. So after that, after dinner, and it really depends on the time of year and the season and the weather, we'll either go somewhere like the mall to go walk around, or we'll go somewhere outdoors where we can take a walk with Chewy, or maybe it's just around the block in the neighborhood, or sometimes we do Zumba and dancing in the in the living room and just kind of have fun with that. So then once all that's done, we like to unwind, give Kat a bath if it's a bath night, and then get her to bed by and again, we're going to go with ish, around 8 p.m. ish. Usually no later than 8:30, she's in bed. So then, you know what? It's time to finally chill. We'll sit down, watch a series on Netflix. Sometimes we brainstorm some biz stuff or just talk about the day, or you know what? We do what married people do, right? But either way, I like to be in bed around 11. Not necessarily asleep, but that's at least usually when I'm getting upstairs to go to bed. So I can wake up and do it all again tomorrow. So that is a typical work day for me if everything kind of goes accordingly, right? And the whole reason I'm telling you this is because having routines, having consistency, having these other things that you can feel proud of is how you stop attaching all of your self-worth to that number on the scale. Right? So when that Friday comes and I go to weigh in, and let's say the scale is the same or it's gone up a pound, I just use that as data and say, okay, but you know what? 5 out of 7 days last week, we walked at the park for 5,000 steps. 4 out of the 7 nights last week, we did Zumba in the house. 5 out of the 7 nights last week, we had clean dinners. I had summer salad, 6 out of 7 days. You start to look at other things that you're doing and realize that, again, sometimes the things that you're doing don't yield the results we think they should yield on the scale, right? Because there's other factors. There's water retention. There's muscle mass that you're building. There's other things. And sometimes you do gain weight and you have to be okay with that. Right? And that's why we use the scale to say, oh, you know what? I was up 3 pounds this week. Something was off. And I need to go investigate to see what I could do better for the week ahead. That is a different mentality than saying, I'm a failure. I'm destined to be fat. I'm never going to change. I'm not doing this anymore because nothing works for me. Poor me. Woe is me. That's being a victim. Right? Being a successful person is looking at it as data and saying, what could I do different next time? Right? And the more you start practicing that, the more you start doing it, you start to detach who you are as a person to that scale and the results on the scale. Right? So let's take action. The number one thing you can do to start taking action is to create consistency. And notice, I say consistency, not perfection, because perfection doesn't exist. Consistency means we're creating daily, weekly routines that allow you to have some structure. And you need structure and you need consistency so that you can bounce back on those weeks that you maintain or have a gain. So that you can also have those weeks where you celebrate, losing on the scale, celebrate a win because you lost weight that week, without being on this constant, up and down emotional roller coaster. Because that is going to trip you up every single time if you don't get it under control. So having consistency, having routines, having structure, it puts you in control and it keeps you ahead of the unplanned chaos that is going to happen. You notice I say that it is going to happen. Not because I want to wish bad things on you, right? But life is going to happen. We're not going to have the perfect day every single day. So when you have routines and you have consistency and you have things that you do every day, you eat a fresh summer salad every day. That means that when your boss reams you a new one an hour before lunch, you're not hitting up the drive-thru to eat your feelings because you already had your lunch planned. I hope you see where I'm going with this, right? Consistency means, you know what? Today sucked. I lost 2 clients and, something bad happened and I've been crying, but you know what? Every day at 5 o'clock, I take my walk with my dog. And that is consistent. And I'm not going to stop walking my dog because someone hurt my feelings today. Do you see what I'm saying? So consistency keeps you ahead. So that what it's doing is it's not allowing you to go into that yo-yo diet, body hate, shame cycle that we've been on for so long because that's what's been comfortable for you. Right? There was a day recently where I was actually feeling depressed. Like my depression was like, hey girl, how you doing? Want to hang out? And I'm like, no, I really don't. Get away from me. But it's not that easy, right? It's depression. So I kind of had to force myself to like, I don't want to go outside, but I know I'm going to feel better when I go outside. Put the kid in the car, put the dog in the car, and get your ass to the park. And even if you just sit in the car, because I picked up dinner on the way to the park, even if you guys just sit in this car and you eat your dinner in this car in the parking lot, it got you out of the house. And you know what happens? Because it's a chain reaction. I was like, I am not going to sit in this parking lot watching everyone else having fun, and I keep my kid and my dog cooped up in a car because they deserve better, and I deserve better, right? Consistency is what creates that. So another thing with consistency, like I mentioned in my example, have a morning routine, right? What does your morning routine look like? Is it chaotic or is it controlled? And if you're having chaotic mornings that are setting you up to have road rage on the way to work, that are making you miserable, do something about it, right? Another thing you can practice every day is gratitude. Instead of, I wish I had a better house. I wish I could lose weight. I wish I had what she had. I wish I had better hair. Whatever that crap is that you're telling yourself, you've got to switch it with gratitude. I am so grateful that we have this wonderful house where my daughter was born, where she's been raised, where my dog has been raised, where we have all these great memories. And this house has been so good to us. And I know that we're going to be moving into our dream house in just a matter of time. And I might be talking to myself right now. So gratitude, you guys, like that's one of the keys to that consistent structure. Having a makeup routine, having a hair routine, right? Setting aside certain days of the week to do your chores, like house cleaning, meal prepping, all the things that we really don't want to do. Because when you don't do those, you're going to live inside of the rushed, chaotic, frazzled lady, right? You're going to be her all the time. And the rushed, frazzled lady just wants to eat to calm all her nerves down. Am I right or am I right? So number one, start creating consistency and routines. Number two, this is going to be really specific as it relates to the binge eating and the eating and all that kind of stuff, but plan and track your meals ahead of time. So most of y'all listening probably know that I do follow Weight Watchers as my plan of choice. I am very pro Weight Watchers. It has given me structure and consistency, and it has taught me over the years how to actually eat in moderation. I do not starve. I do not diet. I do not restrict certain things from what I can have. And Weight Watchers has given me all of that freedom, right? However, back to the structure and consistency. So one thing that's been working really, really well for me is that I go into my app on the phone and I plan and track all of my meals and snacks the night before. So the night before, I already know what I'm going to have for breakfast. I already know I'm going to have summer salad for lunch. So I will put those things in my tracker, and if I already know what we're going to do for dinner, I put that in there too. So what's really cool about that is once I put those things in there, including a couple of my snacks, I might have 5 or 6 points left over. So now, the next day, if something comes up where we go somewhere or I decide, you know what, I'm still hungry, I need another snack, I have points to play with. Because otherwise, if I don't do this and I don't plan my meals, it is so much easier for me to give in and allow the day and allow the circumstances of the day to control me and my choices with my food. Right? So here's an example. Recently, it was a client of mine, and she had a really busy day with her job, and it was followed by just a really stressful, agitating experience with her child's father, aka her ex-husband. This experience led her straight to the fast food drive-thru. So we're talking fried food, milkshake, and then cookies in front of the TV watching Netflix. which was not something she wanted to do. And she was frustrated because she fell back into that cycle. Because the way that happens is we're not planning ahead, right? So here's the deal. We can't predict what life is going to throw at us. We can't predict who's going to be an asshole to us tomorrow. We can't predict what news we're going to get tomorrow, right? But we can set our day up to the best of our ability. And if food is your weakness and food is your drug of choice, then you have to plan accordingly for days like this because they're going to happen. So let's say Thursdays are the day that, you've got all these events that go on after work and you don't get home till like 8 or 9 o'clock. So dinner is not happening at home. Okay, so where are you going for dinner? Do you know where you're going for dinner? And if you do know, you look ahead at the menu, because what happens is if you don't do that, the hangry monster takes over, and then we order what the entitled fat girl wants, and not what our future Irresistible You version of us needs, right? So plan and track your meals ahead of time. It doesn't matter if you do Weight Watchers or not. It doesn't matter what that looks like for you. But what I want you to do, what I want you to take away from this is how can you get ahead of the food and stop letting the food control you? Because you're in control of it. We can't blame anybody else, right? So we're going to create consistency. We're going to plan and track meals ahead of time. And another thing that I want you to start looking at with the scale is focusing on those non-scale victories. What is a non-scale victory? It's exactly what it means. It's a celebration. It's something you accomplished. It's a win that's not related to what's on the scale, right? So let me just give you a couple examples. A non-scale victory would be, you know what? I went to the fast food drive-thru last night and I got grilled chicken instead of the fried chicken that I've been getting for like 10 years. That is a non-scale victory. You may not have a weight loss this week, but it doesn't matter because guess what? You started doing something that's changing the behaviors that have been like drilled into you for years. You're now changing the behavior that's going to allow you to make this a lifestyle. Because lifestyle tells us we're not giving up fast food. That's ridiculous. We're going to start changing out the things we eat at fast food. And every once in a while, we get the thing we really want, right? So that's a non-scale victory. Another non-scale victory is you get out of the shower and all of a sudden you put the towel on and it wraps around your body. And you're like, what? That's never happened, right? That's a non-scale victory. Another non-scale victory is, I feel really depressed today. I can't seem to get off the couch. And I got off the couch and I went for a drive and I went to the park anyway. That's a non-scale victory. So you see what I'm saying? Those little things, and that's why I'm telling you to set up consistency, to set up routines, to set up things throughout your day, because that's going to set you up for success to have these non-scale victories. And so now we're moving away from, well, my weekly weigh-in is on Friday, and I know it's going to be bad because I did this, and I ate that, and I had chocolate cake, and I blah, 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 and so-and-so made me eat donuts, and so-and-so made me do... No! No one made you do any of those things. It's not your husband's fault. It's not your ex-husband's fault. It's not your boss's fault. It's not your kid's fault. It's yours. And I know that's hard to hear, but we need to hear it. We are the ones making the decisions about what goes in our mouth. We are the ones either setting up our day for success or setting up our day for chaos. And the whole purpose, the whole point of this podcast episode is I want you to get out of this that in order for you to get the results you want, in order for you to start feeling more aligned, stepping into your power, stepping into the irresistible you version of yourself, it's not just about getting on the scale and losing weight. It's about all these other things that you're now going to be able to do in your life because you're taking control and ownership over what you're doing. Right? So just to recap again, some action items. We're going to start creating consistency, not perfection, because we're not going to have perfect days. Right? We're going to set up consistency. We're going to plan and track meals ahead of time. And we're going to celebrate the non-scale victories. And write those things down. You know what? Here's an even better one. You could come into our free Facebook group, the Irresistible University Lounge Facebook group, and you can share those. Go on there and write a post and share that with the group because we love celebrating that stuff with you guys. Right? So that link will be posted in the notes down below. So I hope that this episode was helpful. I hope that you were able to get a couple of nuggets out of this that you can utilize in your own journey for your own weight loss journey, your own Irresistible You journey, because it is so important to stop attaching your self-worth to the scale, right? Because think about it. Let's say you get to your goal weight, because you will. And when you get to your goal weight, and you're still attaching your self-worth to the scale, what are you going to do now when you're in maintenance mode? What are you going to do now when you don't have that intoxicating feeling of seeing the scale go down week after week? What do you do when that's gone? Because now you're still left with who you are and all the hang-ups that you had about your body and yourself as a person because you haven't addressed them. Right? So we have, like, this is to me is like more important than getting the physical weight off. And when you start doing this stuff that I'm talking about, I can't make promises to you, but I'm pretty sure you might start seeing the weight coming off when you really start focusing on these other areas. So I hope this was helpful. If it was, I would be so grateful if you could head over to iTunes and leave a rating and review, letting me know what you liked about this podcast, because it really helps me and it helps other women to find us. If you want to get into our free Facebook group, I will post that link in the notes as well. And I'm not sure if it's for you yet, but if you're ready to tackle this, and I mean really tackle it, like you're tired of trying to figure this out on your own, I want you to do one of two things. You can either come to one of my free weekly masterclasses, or we can do a one-on-one call where we can dig a little bit deeper, see what's going on with you. I can tell you a little bit more about my program, see if you're going to be a good fit, and then we'll go from there. So I will put all of those links down in the comments below. Thank you so much for listening. I know this was a longer episode, and until next time, stay irresistible.